What is that? Some sort of chocolate?
I don't know. I wanted jam, but I couldn't find jam. Yeah, chocolate paste. Is there jam? I'll have to go find the jam.
Dove actually threw up twice last night and was not feeling good this morning, so she made the decision and we supported it for her to stay back at the hotel. It's kind of crazy though, because we're in a foreign country and we were just really torn, but she's what, 16, so I think she'll be okay.
50 years ago today, Jerusalem was liberated in the 67 Six-Day War, and our tour guide REA served in that war, and they called him up and said, hey, can you share about that? And he decided that he would rather be here with us.
Jesus' life have happened here. Just think about it. Here he spent 3 years. This is from where he started and where he ended. This was his home for 3 years.
We just finished this 45-minute lecture in this spot. Like, just to set a little bit of backdrop for those of you that have any religious knowledge, like, there's more stories written about Jesus in this city than any place else. There's like 20 events recorded throughout the Gospels, the New Testament, of things that he did in this place. So it's like one of the most mentioned places. And he did like the Sermon on the Mount within walking distance of here. I can see the Sea of Galilee right over that way. Our teacher, Aryeh, was telling us how the same day that Jesus did the Sermon on the Mount, he comes back and he hears this guy. It's in the Bible, he's called the demoniac. He was like filled with demons, and he had shackles that he had broken. And you can actually hear from across the lake, even though it's like a mile or two, Jesus could hear this guy like screaming in agony. And numerous times he wanted to go and heal him, but it says in the Bible that God the Father said that it's not time. And finally he said it's time. So Jesus gets in the boat. This is all how the story goes. Jesus gets in the boat and he goes across the lake. And this is where it gets like so crazy, is it says that he was asleep on a pillow. And this is like when all the storm was happening and the disciples were all afraid. And you're like, okay, I read that and I'm like, big deal, it's a pillow. But Aryeh says that's the only time that word for pillow is mentioned in the entire Bible. And you know, he didn't carry like a hotel type pillow. So what he had was actually a pair of clothes, because the man on the other side of the lake, the sea, was naked. And Jesus took the man clothes. And this is getting into a core identity of who Jesus is. is Jesus the Comforter, Jesus the Shepherd. He comforted people, he comforted sheep. I don't know, I never really thought of Jesus that way. But this town, Capernaum, was called the village. It literally means the village of the Comforter. And this was named hundreds or thousands of years before Jesus was even like existed as a human. This village was called that. And Jesus was the Comforter. And he, even these tiny things of people's clothes, he took that into account to prepare for this man.
If you see, suddenly you find walls 90 degrees, don't call me. Because you know they don't understand. They will call him all the day, will run. If you see 120 degrees like this, stop and call me.
Okay, so this is like your Indiana Jones moment. This shows what they originally found, and this was built on top of this, and now this is what we see here. But it's like, the way a lot of the city is laid out is if you look in there, it's like the lowest point, and this is like Jesus's house is what they're saying, where he stayed. And then like 1,000 years later, like they built this and they built this. Then this church was a Byzantine church that's built over this whole thing to memorialize it. Then if you look back, there's actually a whole church above us built on this entire thing. So it's just like layers and layers and layers, and you can see every 1,000 years. But this is one of the ways they know that, you know, a lot of these sites are like legit, is because, you know, for thousands of years they've remembered these places. It's not like it's a new thing. We are at this place where supposedly this guy owns all the cows in Galilee, and it's like the best burger place in Israel, our tour guide tells us. But unfortunately, Dove, who just joined us again for a little bit, threw up again in the van, so Cammie's taking her back to the hotel. So that's a real bummer. It's like, we want to be with her, but I think she's okay still, but
That's pretty good.
took a shower, cleaned up. I feel pretty good right now. I think Dev's feeling better. Today's tour was really amazing. It stands as such a huge contrast from our time in London. There's such a huge difference from snapping selfies in front of famous places just to tell other people that I've been there, or even just to try and check something off emotionally, or even just to try and learn more facts or learn more history. Those have always been temporary feelings of gratification for me. Like, you get a bunch of likes and you let people know you're important. These sites here with this experience in REA, the reason why I'm willing to spend money and time to do this is because I feel like I'm encountering and getting to know Jesus better, getting to know God better, and I feel like I'm actually being changed from the experience itself.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting to know God as Jesus is God and Jesus is a man. Like, there's both, especially to go to places that he walked and like lived. Makes it way more real that he was actually a human, which I think is very important to our faith, that he was both.
And I feel bad because I see these other tours out there, and I think a lot is dictated by the tour guide and why you're here and what you believe, but I see people, it seems like they're just getting a bunch of facts, and it's like, that's great, like the facts are cool, the history is cool, but like,
there's so much more.
There's so much more that's possible here. It's so valuable to have a man that I think knows God and can help, has that purpose for showing us stuff. It's not just to get more facts. It's not just to take the selfie. It's not just to...
protects us from that stuff. Like, he makes it a point to only do the stuff that he knows will help us get to know God better.
Yeah.
And the story
so
better.
Cool.
We went to Magdalene, where Mary of Magdalene would have lived, and they have this church there that they built that has all this art, and that's really cool. But this one picture, our tour guide just took us in this room, and I had no idea, and I just walked in, and I was just like hit with this picture, and it was a picture of the woman, this story of a woman in the New Testament that was bleeding for 12 years, and she had enough faith to just reach her hand and touch the edge of Jesus' cloak, which this picture was a hand going through probably all these men's legs just so she could just touch the edge of his cloak, because she wanted healing so badly, and her faith was so strong because she knew if she was caught, like, she would have been killed.
They would have stoned her.
They would have stoned her, but she was so desperate and her faith was so big that she was willing to do this, to risk her life. And this picture, I don't consider myself like an art person, but like I haven't gotten emotional too much with artwork, but this picture, I walked in the room and it was like, oh my gosh, like it just hit me. It floored me, like how powerful that picture was for me. Was really, because I've read that story a lot, and that story is really powerful to me because Jesus calls her daughter, your faith has made you well. And like that, like I knew like how he saw her, how he felt about her is how he feels about me. And so it's just it was such a powerful moment for me.
Oh man, I got it. That boat experience, I couldn't capture on video, so I didn't even try, but I had a bad attitude walking onto it. They're just like blasting this worship music while we're on this boat, and it felt really weird. But then we got out in the water, and I could see, it's like the landscape as close to, I think, as Jesus would have seen it. It was just untouched with this water and mountains, and I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus saw this, and I'm hearing this music, and I'm just like crying. It was cool.
Yeah, I haven't really had, it's been a long time since I've had like a worship experience like that.
So this has been a valuable experience already for us. I would say already worth the price of admission. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing to say because I don't think you can put a price tag on that. I'm not recommending everyone just come to Jerusalem, come to the Holy Land and take a tour, because if you just take a random tour, I feel like you could almost like hate God more if you're just like get inundated with a bunch of facts or history and dust. Yeah. We're going to dinner now.